All situations can't be taken on guns blazing and just going in there with force. And sometimes the better idea might be just a little bit of subterfuge and subtlety to try and get the drop on the target. If you want a character who can avoid detection, slip past your foes, hide and seize opportunities when they present themselves, or conceal what you might hold dear or valuable, then the stealth skill might be what you're looking for. My name is Don. I'm trying to be the Sly Strategist, and let's go ahead and get into it. Now, the stealth skill is a dexterity based skill, and it kind of does what it says it does on the box. You're basically skilled in avoiding detection in various things and allowing you to kind of get past your foes, just kind of sneaking, hiding in certain situations when it's advantageous to you, and being able to conceal items from observers in order to try to get it past guards or whoever might be looking for things. Even sometimes not only on your person, but being able to hide and conceal things away from where you are. Now, there are a few things that I want to kind of cover here before we go into it because every single action here has the secret trait. So we're going to go ahead and break down secret checks really quick. The secret trait appears on skills, actions, things you have to do where the GM is going to roll for you. Sometimes you, as the player, shouldn't know the exact results or the effects that occur because of that check. In these kinds of situations, the GM, or perhaps even the skill, action, or whatever itself, will call for a secret check. Whenever there is a secret check, there will be a secret trait applied to it. Once again, the GM can overrule this and can make something that is not necessarily always secret be secret in a particular case, or something that is secret to not be secret and allow you to roll forward as well. But in general, if it has the secret trait, the GM is going to roll for you. If you're playing in a VTT, there is the blind GM roll that is available so that only the GM sees the result. All this being said, one thing I will say, so because I have heard a little bit about this where some people don't actually really like the secret trait or what it implies. It does have an option in this rule set that is not specifically homebrew because it's an option in the rule set where the GM can choose to make any check secret, even if it's usually rolled by the player. So it kind of doesn't matter. It depends on the narrative of the story, what's going on, what the particular check might be. Even if a normal religion check isn't supposed to be secret, maybe in that specific case, it makes sense to be. Also, the GM can let you roll any check yourself, even if it's supposed to be secret. And one of the reasons why you would do this is there are times when you're at a particular table, perhaps you're playing virtually, perhaps you're playing just through voice, and you aren't on a VTT, so you don't have that blind GM role. Or maybe it's just the way that you guys like to play at the table, where the individual will roll their own secret checks, and then they will have to role play with wrong information. It's fully provided for in here, but in general, rules as written, if it has the secret trait, then the GM is the one who rolls for it, and you don't know the specific results. All that being said, let's go ahead and move on to the rest of the stealth skill. So, the first action in the stealth skill we're going to cover is conceal an object. It is a single action, it has the manipulate and the secret trait. This is the only one that does have the manipulate trait. A lot of the other ones that you might think would be related to this are actually going to be in the thievery skill. But what conceal an object does is it allows you to hide a small object on your person. It has to have light bulk. Could be something like a weapon, could be a religious symbol, could be a book, it could be any number of things, but it has to be light bulk. What is going to happen is the GM is going to roll your stealth check and compare it to an observer's perception DC. Once the GM rolls the check, that's the result, and it's the result that's used for all passive observers that you are trying to sneak this particular object past. So a good example of this is, let's say you're going through a checkpoint in a city and you succeed for the one guard that is casually looking through everyone else's bags in your line. But that one check that you make for that one guard will count for all the guards at that checkpost because they are passive observers. So there might be a supervisor in a chair at the back of the checkpoint, and there might be a guard at the front of the checkpoint and one at the back of the checkpoint, but they are passive observers. So this stealth check against the passive observer's perception DC is only done once, and that is the result for the entire checkpoint. Now, if a creature is specifically searching you for an item, it can attempt a perception check against your stealth DC, and on a success, then they will find the object. But the other thing that you can do is if something is specifically searching you for an item, is you can also attempt to conceal an object somewhere other than your person, such as a bush on the side of the road, or maybe there's some tall grass over there, or a flower pot. These are things that you could conceal an object in and come back and get later. But the same rules would apply for this as it would for you attempting to conceal an object on your person, and that would be a perception check against your stealth DC. This only has two conditions for success and failure. There is no critical nor critical success, nor is there a critical failure. If you succeed, the object remains undetected, and if you fail, the observer finds the object. So there is no like critical success where you really, really, really keep it undetected, or critical failure where they really, really find it. It is just a success or failure. Let's go ahead and move on to the other ones. Before we move on to the next two actions that really involve you being stealthy, let's go ahead and just take a quick glance again at what the detection levels are. There are 3 detection levels, and those are observed, and you are in the creature's clear view. There is hidden. The creature knows your location but can't see you. So when you're hidden, let's say if you're playing on a virtual tabletop or you're playing on a map table, the creature generally knows the square you're in, but not precisely where you are. And if you are undetected, the creature doesn't know your location. They just won't be able to locate you whatsoever, so they don't even know the square that you're in. With that being said, let's go ahead and roll on to our first one, which is the single action hide. The single action hide only has the secret trait. So once again, this would generally be a GM roll, but what you are trying to do is you are trying to hide behind something. You're trying to get into cover or greater cover or some type of deeper concealment in order to become hidden rather than observed from the creature. This is going to happen, and the GM is going to roll your stealth check in secret and compare it to the result of the perception DC of each creature you're observed by. So it is not just a single creature, but each individual creature who is observing you is going to have to make this particular check that you have cover or greater cover from. Now, you do get the circumstance bonus from cover +2 or greater cover, which is +4, and you can add that to your check. There's only really one condition here, and it's success. They didn't even put a failure condition on this, but a failure condition would be you just don't hide, you stay observed. But on a success, if you were observed, you're now hidden. So you kind of lower a level of detection, but if you were already hidden or undetected, then it doesn't really change that, but you remain in the same condition you were in. So if you were hidden, you're still hidden. If you were undetected, you're still undetected. If you successfully become hidden to a creature, but then all of a sudden you move out from cover or greater cover against it, then you will immediately become observed again. You cease being hidden if you try to do anything other than hide, sneak, or step. You will cease being hidden and become observed again. If you attempt to strike a creature, then you do get a flat-footed condition against them. However, you will become observed immediately. And then if you try to do anything other than hide, sneak, or step, or strike and become observed at that particular point directly after the strike, you will immediately become observed just before you act. Unless the GM decides that in the narrative of the story or in this particular situation, it wouldn't make sense for you to do that. There are so many different possibilities that could be the case for. So I'm not going to go into all of those, but the GM can decide that you still remain in the hidden or undetected case if you were in that situation before, depending on what the particular circumstance is. Now, the GM might also allow you to perform a really subtle, particularly unobtrusive act without being noticed, but that would probably require another stealth check against the perception DC. And if the creature uses a seek action because they know you're there, but they just don't know where. So if they attempt to seek to make you observe to it, you must successfully hide to become hidden from it again. So you're going to have to make that check one more time. Now we're going to move on to the last action, and it's a biggie, but is the single action sneak. This has the move trait because you are moving, as well as the secret trait. So what you're trying to do when you are sneaking is you're trying to move from one spot to another. But whenever you do attempt to sneak, you have to move at half speed in whatever type of movement type that you have available to you. So if you have a land speed, then it is going to be a stride. If you are in the water and you have a swim speed, it will be half of that swim speed. Same thing for burrow, same thing for climb. If you have a speed listed under those movement conditions and you are allowed to do it, you can still sneak in that particular movement type, but it will be at half speed. It is normally rounded down. So let's say you had a 25-foot move speed, then it would be 12 feet as opposed to 13 feet. If you are undetected by a creature, and by undetected, we mean you're invisible or you're in darkness and that creature can't see in darkness, so it doesn't have low light or dark vision, or the observer is blinded, then in that particular case, any critical failure that you would roll on a sneak just becomes a failure instead. You also continue to be undetected if you lose cover or greater cover or are no longer concealed against a creature under those conditions. Once again, those conditions are you're invisible or you're in darkness and the creature doesn't have an ability to see in darkness or the observer is blinded. So at the end of your movement, it's not at the beginning, but at the end of the movement, the GM rolls your stealth check in secret and compares the result to the perception DC of each creature you were hidden from or undetected by at the start of the movement. So if you were in cover and you were hidden from all the creatures, then it would be against all those creatures. If you were seen by a creature and not seen by three others, then it would be the three others that would make that check, while the one that did see you would still see you sneak. If you have cover or greater cover from the creature through your stride or your swim or your climb or whatever you're trying to do, you do get the +2 circumstance bonus from cover or +4 from greater cover added to your stealth check. But if you are not concealed or have cover or greater cover at the end of your movement, then you don't get to roll against the creature against their perception DC. You automatically become observed if you are attempting to sneak, and at the end of your sneak, at the end of your movement, you're out in the open. It's kind of game over at that point. Now we do have the success conditions for this one. On a success, you are undetected by the creature and remain undetected at the end of your movement. As long as you are concealed, somehow under greater cover. Now these are the caveats to that. If you do anything other than hide, sneak, or step, then you become observed. If you attempt to strike a creature, once again, you get that flat-footed condition, and then you become observed, and anything else, you will become observed directly before you try to do it. We have the same things that we talked about before. The GM might allow you to perform something unobtrusive by doing another stealth check, and if the creature uses sneak, you must hide from it to become hidden from it again. On a failure, there is some kind of sound or a sign, or maybe they see your shadow. Something will give your position away, although you still do remain unseen. So you're hidden from that creature throughout the movement, and you do remain so. And remember, in hidden, they kind of know generally where you are, but they can't specifically pick you out. And on a critical failure, game's over. You've been spotted. You're observed by the creature throughout the movement, so he's going to see you attempting to slowly crawl across the floor. And if you're invisible and were hidden from the creature, instead of being observed, you're just going to be hidden through your movement, and at the end of your movement, you will remain hidden. I hope this walkthrough of the stealth skill kind of helped you out, kind of made you think of a few things, especially once again, going to that secret check. It is a rule in the book, and if it does have the secret trait, generally speaking, the GM rolls it, and the player does not know what they rolled. However, it's available to the table in the optional rules for that particular step that you can go ahead and let the players roll their secret checks, and they have to role play basically not knowing the correct information. But there are some really good actions in this particular skill, and it's one that is really useful if you want to be able to not have to go in guns blazing all the time, or to tactically move around a battlefield in order to get the advantage against creatures. So I do hope you liked the video, and if you did, feel free to like, subscribe, or hit that notification bell. But whatever you do, I hope you have a great day and happy adventuring. Thanks.